Okay.
This is how your tax dollars are being spent.
My name is Dr. Thrasher, PhD, right here from UCLA, by the way, in 1964. And I have been a practicing toxicologist since approximately 1966. And I have been looking at chemically injured people and published 45 or 50 research papers on this subject, and looking at their injury and what type of injuries they have. I don't know what else to say at this stage of the game.
What does Downey have to do with toxicology?
Well, from my understanding and everything that I've read and has been given to me to read, is that the Downey site, which is JPL, the old form of JPL site, is loaded with a whole variety, and several hundred toxic chemicals. And a lot of these are chlorinated and fluorinated compounds, and I even saw that there are some pesticide residues that are present here. So that, in my estimation, that is a toxic site. And these and all these chemicals are volatile, so people can breathe them in, become ill. And when they breathe them in, they get into the systemic circulation and also get into the brain and can cause neurological and immunologic deficits.
Well, why is it that the workers, the injured workers, have not been provided with toxicology tests to find out if they have these kind of materials in their bodies?
Well, truly the rationale behind that comes from a group called ACOM, A-C-O-E-M. And ACOM is basically funded by industry. And these are the physicians who look at environmental injury. ACOM is the American College of Occupational Environmental Medicine. Even though the tests are available, most of these physicians, because of conflict of interest, refuse to recognize and do the appropriate testing on these individuals who are injured from toxic exposure. There are a few ACOM physicians who are qualified to do this and are willing to do this, but they are few and far between.
Doesn't this violate the precepts of the medical profession?
Well, it violates the Hippocratic Oath, basically, is that, they refuse to recognize an injury, and what else can I say, Hippocratic Oath, they're sworn, they swear when they get their license to take care of illness, and then they turn around and refuse to recognize it and call these injuries psychosomatic.
Are you surprised at all the people that have been affected, the numbers, and the fact that government representatives and government agencies, OSHA, Department of Labor, EPA, none of these government agencies have contacted the workers to find out what's going on, even though it was in the Los Angeles Times, a story about this situation?
No, I'm not surprised. By the way, just take a look at who supports Congress and senators to get elected on each side of the fence. They get their contribution to be elected from industry. And what else could I say on that one? People ought to wake up. They promise you something, and then they turn around and take money to get elected from some source in the industry.
So you're not surprised about the fact that the federal government wants to offer $465 million to Tesla to build an auto assembly plant on a toxic dump site?
No, I'm not surprised at that. That's just the way they function. They've done this all over the country. I've seen they pour funds into poor housing, for example. The poor housing is poorly constructed. The people living in the poor housing wind up becoming ill from water intrusion, which leads to microbial growth, and the big quote-unquote term is toxic mold. And I've seen this all over the country, even as far south right now in the situation of Bermuda, in which police officers are ill. So I'm not surprised. The government just plays ostrich. And what an ostrich does is put its head in a hole in the ground, and guess what's showing? They can't see anything, but that portion of their anatomy, and I'm an anatomist by training, is out there for the rest of the world to see.
And the government, I understand, has hired expert witnesses who are against, who don't believe in fungus or mold as a cause of toxins?
Oh yeah, I'll give you an example. FEMA has a whole series of trailers that have a real serious health problem with them. I was in New Orleans and examined several trailers, and number one, they have a formaldehyde problem. Number two, they also have water intrusion, which leads to microbial growth. And yes, they've gone out and hired 2 experts who say that these types of exposures do not hurt people, and so FEMA has these 2 individuals as their expert witnesses.
Idea with the car,
Yeah.
bad location.